Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mente Aprende family. I want to extend the warmest welcome to this new episode. I'm Jorge Franco, a psychiatrist, and as always, it is an honor to share this space of curiosity and self-discovery with you. Today, I want us to reflect on a paradox of our time. We live in an era of unprecedented technological advancements, with nearly unlimited access to information, entertainment, and comforts that our ancestors could not have even imagined. And yet, if we look inward, what do we find? For many, the daily experience is one of rushing, of stress, of a subtle yet persistent anxiety. It's as if we are running on an endless treadmill. We reach a goal, and after a brief moment of satisfaction, the feeling of emptiness or that something is missing returns. This is the reality of burnout, of social media comparison, of feeling disconnected despite being hyperconnected. We ask ourselves, why, if I have so much, do I not feel completely at peace? Is it the world that is broken, or is there something in the very structure of our own minds that inevitably leads us to dissatisfaction? To explore this fundamental question, today we continue our series of dialogues with the most brilliant minds in history. Through a representation created with artificial intelligence based on their words, their texts, and their legacy, we seek to bring their wisdom to our current challenges. And our guest today dedicated his entire life to solving this enigma. He was not born a god or a supernatural being. He was born a prince in a palace where his father tried to shield him from every form of suffering. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. But destiny had it that one day he would leave that bubble and come face to face with the reality of life. He saw an old man, a sick man, and a lifeless body. That encounter transformed him. He abandoned his life of luxury not on a whim, but with a scientific and profoundly human question. What is the root of suffering, and is there a method to free ourselves from it? For years, he investigated the limits of the body and mind, until one night, while sitting under a tree, he attained a profound and direct understanding. From that moment on, the world would know him as the Buddha, which simply means the one who has awakened. Today, I have the immense privilege of conversing with him. We're going to ask him to share his diagnosis of the human condition, a guide that, after 2,500 years, remains one of the most powerful tools for mental health that we know. Master Siddhartha, welcome to Mente Aprende. It is a profound honor to have you here.
The honor is mine, Jorge. Thank you for creating this space where the mind can observe itself. The unease you ask about is the starting point of my entire path. Before we can heal a wound, we must first look at it with courage and without looking away. The first step of my teaching is simply this: to recognize the existence of what I call Dukkha. Many translate it as suffering, and in part it is, but it is a much broader concept. Dukkha is the obvious pain of a loss, yes, but it is also the subtle tension in your shoulders after a long day. It is the dissatisfaction of a moment that isn't as perfect as you imagined. It's the anxiety produced by wanting a moment of happiness to last forever, and the fear that a moment of sadness will never leave. Imagine a cartwheel that is not perfectly round. The whole journey, no matter how beautiful the scenery, will have a constant vibration, a friction, an underlying discomfort. That is Dukkha. It is not a pessimistic view of the world. It is an honest diagnosis of the condition of a mind that has not understood itself.
I understand. It's a fundamental unease, sometimes subtle, sometimes acute. If that is the diagnosis, the crucial question is, what is its cause?
An essential question, and the answer I found after a long search was surprising in its simplicity. The cause of dukkha is not in the external world, it is not in others, it does not reside in misfortune. The origin of suffering is within us. It is an internal force I call tanha. Tanha is a thirst, a craving, or an insatiable attachment. It is the engine of our restlessness. This thirst manifests in three primary ways. The first is the thirst for sensory pleasures. It is the constant impulse to seek pleasant experiences for our eyes, ears, tongue, body, and mind, and an equally strong impulse to avoid or flee from unpleasant experiences. It is a quest that never ends, because sensations are, by their nature, impermanent. The second is the thirst for becoming. This is the domain of what you call the ego. It is the deep craving to build an identity, to be someone, to gain status, to be recognized, to endure. It is the whisper that tells us, I need this to be complete, or I need others to see me in this way. It is a thirst that condemns us to comparison and to building castles on sand. And the third is the thirst for non-being. This is aversion, rejection. It is the desire to annihilate a painful emotion, to escape an uncomfortable reality, to eliminate that which threatens us. Feeding these three forms of tanha is like trying to quench your thirst by drinking seawater. Every sip of pleasure, of self-affirmation, or of rejection only intensifies the thirst. This mechanism is the direct root of the uncomfortable vibration of dukkha.
This diagnosis is profound and, in a way, overwhelming. It describes us as prisoners of a thirst that we ourselves generate. The question that immediately arises, the one I believe all of humanity asks, is there a way out? Is it truly possible to extinguish that thirst and with it, the suffering?
Yes. That is the third noble truth, and it is the most liberating truth. I call it nirodha, which means cessation. Just as there is a cause for suffering, there is also an end to it. This is not blind hope. It is a logical conclusion. If a fire goes out when its firewood is removed, suffering also ceases when its cause, which is tanha, is uprooted. It is very important to understand what this cessation means. Nirodha is not annihilation. It is not becoming a void nor feeling indifference toward life. Quite the opposite. It is the end of distortion. It is the ceasing of the incessant noise of, I want this, I don't want that. When that mental static calms down, what remains is not an empty silence, but a profound clarity. Imagine a flame that burns with agitation, fed by the fuel of craving, aversion, and confusion. The cessation of suffering, nirvana, is not about extinguishing the flame and being left in darkness. It is about stopping the addition of that toxic fuel. When the fuel runs out, the feverish fire dies down, and what remains is a serene, stable, and clear light. The mind becomes like a calm lake on a windless day. No longer agitated by the waves of desire, it can finally reflect the sky just as it is. That is the peace of nirvana, an unconditional freedom that can be experienced here and now, not in some other world. It is the awakening to reality, free from the veil of our own thirst.
That promise of unconditional peace is, I believe, the deepest longing of a human being. If that is the cure, Master, what is the medicine? What is the practical path that leads us to this cessation of suffering?
The most important question of all. It is useless to know that a cure exists if you do not know the treatment. The treatment exists, and it is a path that I myself have walked. I call it the Magga, the Noble Eightfold Path. You should not see it as a ladder that you climb step by step, but rather as the 8 strands that make up a single strong and flexible rope. Each one supports and reinforces the others. It is a holistic training of our entire being, which we can group into 3 main practices: ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. First, the foundation of everything, ethical conduct, sila.
Before we can calm the mind, we must calm our life. If our actions and words generate conflict and agitation, how can we expect to find peace within? This foundation includes 3 paths. Right speech. This implies much more than not lying. It is abstaining from slander that divides, from abusive language that harms, and from idle chatter that clouds the mind. It is cultivating speech that is truthful, kind, helpful, and spoken at the right time. It is using communication to heal, not to hurt. Right action. This is to live in a way that causes no harm. It involves refraining from taking life, from taking what is not given, and from harmful sexual conduct. It is to act in the world with compassion, with generosity, and with respect for all beings. Right livelihood. This is fundamental in your era. It means earning a living through a profession that does not cause suffering for others or for oneself. It is an invitation to examine whether our work is in harmony with our values of compassion and non-harm. Second, the heart of the practice. Mental discipline, samadhi. Once our life has an ethical foundation, we can begin the inner work of training the mind. As if it were a wild animal, the mind is not tamed with force, but with patience and consistency. This includes 3 paths. Right effort. This is the art of being a diligent gardener of your own mind. It consists of 4 efforts: preventing unwholesome thoughts from arising, abandoning those that have already arisen, cultivating the emergence of wholesome and virtuous thoughts, and maintaining and nourishing those that are already present. It is an active and conscious practice. Right mindfulness, sati. This is the central pillar. It is the ability to observe moment by moment what is happening inside and outside of you without judgment. It is paying attention to your breath, to the sensations in your body, to the emotions that come and go like clouds in the sky, and to the thoughts that arise and dissolve. Mindfulness is the lighthouse that illuminates the workings of dukkha and tanha in real time. It allows you to see the impulse of craving before it becomes an action, giving you the power to choose. And third, the result of all this training, wisdom, prajna. With an ethical life and a disciplined mind, wisdom blossoms naturally. It includes the final 2 paths, right thought or intention. This refers to the quality of our will. It is the intention of renunciation of attachment, the intention to cultivate loving kindness, metta, and the intention of compassion and non-harm, karna. It is the compass that guides the entire path. And right understanding, this is the final fruit. It is seeing reality directly, just as it is. It is understanding through your own experience, not just intellectually, the 4 noble truths. It is the direct penetration into the impermanent nature of all things, into the inherent dissatisfaction of attachment, and into the illusory nature of a solid, separate self. This 8-fold path is not a destination, George. It is a path that is walked with each step, with each conscious breath. It is the medicine, and it is available to anyone who wishes to take it.
Master, the Eightfold Path is a complete and profound way of life. For the person listening to us now, who perhaps feels overwhelmed by the stress of their routine and sees this path as a daunting mountain, what would be the first step? What is the one thing they could start doing today to walk in that direction?
You must not see the path as a mountain to be conquered, but as the ground that is already beneath your feet. You don't have to go anywhere to begin. The first and most important step is as close to you as your own breath. My advice is this: return to your breath, again and again and again. Do not underestimate the depth of this simple act. Your breath is your anchor to the only moment that truly exists, the now. Your mind constantly travels between the phantoms of the past, regrets, nostalgia, and the phantoms of the future, anxieties, expectations. The breath does not. It only exists in the present. Anchoring your attention to it is the act of calling your mind back home. But it is more than that. Within the observation of the breath lies my entire teaching. Observe it without controlling it. Feel how the inhalation happens on its own. Feel the pause. Feel how the exhalation is released without effort. What does this teach you? It teaches you impermanence, anicca. Every breath is born, lives for an instant, and dies to make way for the next. So it is with all your thoughts, your emotions, and your experiences. There is nothing to cling to. It also teaches you no self, anatta. Are you doing the breathing, or is the breathing simply happening? By observing this natural process, you begin to dissolve the illusion that there is a controlling, solid I at the center of your being. You become the conscious space in which life breathes. So do not be overwhelmed. You don't have to retreat to a cave. In the middle of your day, while working or walking, simply become aware of one complete inhalation. Then, one complete exhalation. That is all. That is the beginning and the end of the path. In my final moments, my last piece of advice to my followers was this: Atta Deepa Viharata. Be a light unto yourselves. Be your own refuge. Do not seek salvation in me or in anyone else. The capacity to awaken, the light of awareness, is already within you. The breath is the switch that turns on that light. Begin there. Every conscious breath is an act of liberation.
Be a light unto yourselves. With that radically empowering invitation, we thank Siddhartha Gautama from the bottom of our hearts for his timeless wisdom. His message, far from being pessimistic, is the ultimate expression of hope. It tells us that we are not victims of our circumstances or our own minds. He offers us a clear diagnosis. Our suffering is born from attachment and craving, and he gives us a medicine, a practical and compassionate training to cultivate a clear mind and a peaceful heart. The summary of this journey is a map for our mental health. The truth of unease, Dukkha, to recognize our dissatisfaction without judgment. The truth of the cause, tanha, to understand that its origin lies in our internal craving. The truth of the cessation, nirodha, to know that liberation from this unease is possible. And the truth of the path, magga, and to have the practical steps to achieve it. The final invitation is to become curious and kind observers of our own experience, starting with the simple act of breathing. I hope this episode has been of great use to you. If it resonated with you, the best way to support our project is by liking and subscribing to Mente Aprende on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube so you don't miss any episodes. And don't forget that you can find more tools and daily reflections on all our social media channels. Look for us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube as @Mente Aprende. Thank you for dedicating this time to yourself, for your curiosity, and for your courage to look inward. I'm Jorge Franco, and this is Mente Aprende. Until next time.